with you on this Monday morning. What day is it? 22nd May 2023. I hope that you are clearly Monday blues, yeah? But I hope you're well this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Your World. My name is Winnie Lubem, and of course we're going to have a very important conversation really that almost all of us should have information about, all right? And of course we're talking about postpartum psychosis. I'm sure you've heard about postpartum depression, but today we want to talk about postpartum psychosis and of course how that comes about. And especially for the women, I'm sure that you've heard the phrase, you do not know love until you get your own baby. Well, while it is expected that all moms fall in love immediately with their newborns, for some this is far from reality. And well, this is as a result of postpartum depression or psychosis, which some studies refer to as a psychiatric emergency that should be looked into as quickly as possible. So what exactly is postpartum psychosis? Who gets it? And what are some of the treatment options? That is what we'll be focusing on the conversation today. So if you're watching us and maybe went through the same and you want to share your experience, feel free to do so at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us. So better yet, our lines are open. So feel free to give us a call, share your story. If you know someone who's also gone through the same, again, feel free to also give us a call and tell us their journey and their experience so that we all have a better understanding as far as postpartum psychosis is concerned. So to help us with that conversation, we have Nyambura Gadhumbi, who is a psychotherapist. She's not new here. You've been here before, yeah, but a while back. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You look lovely. You look lovely this morning, and thank you really for coming by today. You know, I was looking at what psychotherapist really means.
It's just a fancy word of psychology.
Yeah, they were saying it involves more of like talking and sharing and all those things. Yeah. I like that. I like that. All right. And of course, we also have Chebet Birir. Again, she's not new. I'm sure you've had her, you've seen her. You know, she's a multimedia journalist, a communication specialist, as well as a mental health advocate. So good to see you this morning.
Good to see you too.
Thank you so much for making time for us. And first of all, just being brave enough to come and share your story. So
Thanks
we really appreciate that. So let's just start with you, Nyambura, very quickly. Postpartum psychosis, because we hear a lot of terms: postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, baby blues. It's a lot of terms. So can we just get to understand what exactly is what?
Great. So how we view the peripartum psychological well-being is based on 3 psychiatrical classification of diseases.
All right.
My brain goes very quickly to scientific information.
I was about to say the same.
I do.
It's okay. It's okay.
So I want to just make it very simple for everyone to understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So once mom is pregnant and she gives birth, between the ages of the week of 0 to 5 days, that's postpartum blues.
Okay.
And 80 to 85% of new moms, first-time new moms is, it doesn't matter if you had a firstborn or a secondborn. Yeah. At that particular time, you're a new mom.
Okay.
So 80 to 85% of new moms will experience maternity blues.
Okay.
This lasts between day 1 and day 5. So after day 5, the mother is feeling better. Okay. The symptoms of maternity blues are crying, you're feeling fatigued, your sleep is disrupted, your body is going through a lot of changes, and that's because after you give birth, our cervix is a very highly emotionally sensitive environment. Okay. So once baby is dispelled, the body is trying to get back into its previous homeostatic state, which was 9 months before. Okay. So all those changes cause a mood imbalance. All right. So that's postpartum blues. Okay. So now we come to postpartum depression. If the postpartum blues extend beyond the 5 days and are observed from week 1 to week 4, it becomes postpartum depression. All right. It's important to understand that the onset of depression could have happened before pregnancy.
Okay.
This means that an individual who was going through depression before they became pregnant is highly susceptible to postpartum depression. Okay. As to how many moms this affects is 10 to 16%. Okay. All right. And the symptoms are anhedonia. So anhedonia in simple terms is a withdrawal of things that you enjoyed to do. So you're not happy to do them. lethargy, you're constantly tired.
Yeah.
You have low mood, of course, because of the depression. You're not sleeping well, and you have suicide ideation. So the difference between suicide ideation and the actual suicide.
The actual suicide.
So suicide ideation is having thoughts of, I want to kill myself. It's important to point out that postpartum depression is inward looking, whereas postpartum psychosis has everything to do with baby.
Okay.
And this is how it looks like. So now we are going into postpartum psychosis, which is really rare. It happens to 0.01 to 1% of all women. Okay. So postpartum psychosis develops with prolonged postpartum depression. Okay. Again, postpartum depression is from week 1 to week 4. So anything above week 4 has a high susceptibility of developing into postpartum psychosis. Okay. Like people who develop moms who develop postpartum depression, who are depressed before, individuals who suffer from bipolar, and who had a postpartum psychotic break in their first or second or third baby are highly susceptible to develop postpartum psychosis another time. Okay.
So is it fair to sort of like say postpartum psychosis is like a more severe form of postpartum depression? Yeah, that's what exactly that is. And like you said, it's somewhat rare compared to postpartum blues and postpartum depression. I see that. All right, we'll come back then to understand. So who is more at risk? I know you've said someone, you know, who's predisposed to like other mental conditions might be at risk of the same, but other than that, because we usually see like a lot of first-time moms don't know, you know, what to do. How do I handle the baby? It's too much. The body's trying to get back to, you know, its normal form, and then there's pressure to, you need to be happy that you have a baby. Like it's a lot of things happening. So are they also more at risk of developing, you know, depression and then getting into psychosis, or not? But let's speak to Chebet. I've seen you nodding when Nyambura was talking about you know, some of the symptoms. But for you, you've had, was it 2 cases of postpartum psychosis? And again, I was just going through your story. You've had you know, suicidal thoughts, and you've attempted twice, and there was like a bit of trigger, which I was really curious about, because like you said, the first time you were at your husband's home, like, you know, at home with the family, and they're all happy, the baby's here, we're doing a bash for the baby, and then that sort of like triggered it. You had an experience, and then the second time your husband's friends came to visit, and they did like, you know, shopping, you know, basically what usually happens when you go see someone, and that's somewhat triggered the same. So let's just go back.
All right. So like you've said, I've experienced it twice. Okay, I've had let's say I've had 3 psychotic breaks. 2 with my first child and one with my second child, which was not severe because it was arrested very fast. So the first time, yes, like you've said, I was with my in-laws, and then they came to visit the baby. Perhaps the biggest trigger was that I didn't have my own source of income at that time. So I didn't have a job at that time. So having these people visit the baby and bringing all these gifts, I felt guilty, sort of like a burden to them, that I wasn't able to provide for my baby individually, or me and my partner. So yes, the thoughts were irrational, but that's what I felt. I felt like I was being a burden to them, and so they saw that I could not provide for the baby, and they decided to go over and beyond to bring the gifts and all that for the baby. Same to the second time. So you can see the trigger. The first trigger happened the second time with my husband's friends coming to visit. So it means the first time I was not treated properly for the first episode. So the second episode came with the same trigger.
With the same triggers. All right. But let's go back to even before pregnancy, right? How were you? How was life? How was everything before pregnancy? And then pregnancy came. How was your journey during pregnancy as well?
Before pregnancy, I was in school. I was waiting to graduate actually. I had finished school about 6 months prior to my graduation, so I was waiting to graduate. And then before I graduated, I realized I was expecting a baby.
Okay.
And so this actually disfigured my plans, if I can put it that way. So I had planned to, you know, graduate first. And then get married and then get a baby, but here I was expecting my first child, and just before I graduate. Okay. So I think that threw me off balance. And then to add on it, well, my mom accepted it. Okay. She took it very well, but my dad did not. So it was confusing for me. Okay. But I later on I just came to accept that, you know, this is it. I'm expecting a baby, and I have to become a mother. Okay. Yeah, but now after the baby came, like Nyambura has explained the stages. I think for me, I was very happy the first time I gave, like when the baby came, I was very happy. Yeah. I was excited about it for the first 3-4 weeks. And then I think now after 4 weeks, it's when it dawned on me that I don't have a job and I have a baby. And I have to, so some things I have to ask my mom or my husband for them to provide. And I think that is when it hit me now that I am a mother. And I have to be fully responsible for this baby. Yeah. So even though I never lacked, I felt a lot of guilt, a lot of feeling like a burden to everyone around me. And it was not easy. I was battling a lot of negative thoughts. So I think that was the depression stage, suicidal thoughts. Yeah. And then now it reached a point I didn't want to do anything. I was lethargic, and I was, what was the term you used for? Not wanting to do, not wanting to do the things that you liked doing before. So I didn't want to take a shower. I didn't want to eat. I wasn't sleeping for days. Yeah. And you can guess that at this point, of course, I did not care about the existence of my baby. Like I wasn't aware. I remember the first thought was, this is not my baby. Yeah. And then it was like, no, I never gave birth. And then at some point I wanted to now die. And then when I thought about dying, I was like, so if I die, what's going to happen to your baby? Who will take care of her? And at this point, when you're suicidal, you feel like death is the best solution. So I felt like if I go with my baby, then it will be better for both of us. You know? There's a better life on the other side. So the first time I attempted, I'd say I nearly attempted, because the first time I was with my mom. I was in my mom's place, and I went to the kitchen and I took the knife, but I didn't. I felt so weak. So I think it was just God's way of preventing it. So my hands were weak. I was shaking. I let, and then my mom called me. So I had
just in the nick of time.
To stop it. The second time is now when my husband's friends came to visit. And we were in the house, and I was feeling like they're actually discussing. You know, when you're depressed or psychotic, you create illusions in your mind, and they become your reality. So when people are talking about something else, you might even say they're talking about you, because your mind has become delusional. So I felt like they were attacking me. They were talking about someone else actually, who had done, I don't know, I can't remember very well, but I felt like they were
talking about you, not in a good way.
So I took my baby and went outside to the balcony, and I thought of, you know, jumping off. But again, God's way of preventing it, there was a friend at the balcony who was having a breather. Just one of my husband's friends. So again, I could not.
So like
he started talking to me,
quote unquote.
He started, how are you? How have you been? It's been a while. So I could not do it.
Did not go through.
And I went back to the house. Yeah, so that's how it was for my first
for the
baby.
first pregnancy.
Yeah, for the second one, that is in 2020. Now that I thank God for my very supportive husband and mother and the family at large. They were aware that it would happen again, so they were very alert when I was expecting my second child. And so immediately I started feeling weird. I explained to them, and I immediately got treated.
What to do.
So it took about 24 hours for the treatment, and just about 2 weeks to be okay.
You're much better. You know, there's something that I read, and this is what you said. You said for the first pregnancy, you felt like the devil. And for the second pregnancy, you felt like Jesus. Okay. So I'll come back to you for that, just to get to understand this too, because it's like on the opposite extremes. One point you feel like the devil, and then the second part you feel like Jesus. You got everything. You can handle all those things. But based on what it's a lot, right? To try and go through in the next few minutes, because we need to go on a break, maybe like in the next 2 minutes or so. But based on what she has explained, I mean, she was okay. She had her plans, you know, all those things. She got pregnant. It was a bit difficult, you know, to come to acceptance and all those things. And then the baby is here, and you know, she experienced, you know, depression, and then went all the way to psychosis. So, is there like sort of like a genetic predisposition to the same? Is it more of like environmental? Because I know we talked about hormones in the body trying to, you know, get itself back. But other than that, what are some of these other, you know, triggers, causes for postpartum psychosis?
So the only research we can go through, or rather we can borrow from, is from the Western world, and it is predicted that if you have bipolar, or if your family there is a predisposition of psychosis, is that the person might develop psychosis. But if listening to her story, you understand what triggered that. It's the graduation, getting pregnant, so there was a loss of opportunity, where she said she first wanted to get married, and then to get the baby.
Then get a baby,
And then what now switched on the psychosis was a realization of, I am 100% responsible for this child, and I don't have an income. And so because that's too heavy a loss, because the thing that we don't say is that childbirth is a trauma. That's the reality. Childbirth is a trauma.
It's trauma.
And because of that, that loss becomes too heavy for her. So what the mind will do is to create a reality, which we call delusion, as she was saying. It's actual reality, to protect you psychologically from all these things that are happening, and even as your body is trying to get back into its previous state before. And that's too much for a single soul. It's a lot. It really is. It really is a lot.
And the fact that she said you go to a point where you didn't even see this child as your child. If anything, your brain was telling you, no, this is not, you know, my child. And so, go ahead.
Because if this is my child, then I have to be responsible. And I'm not in control of getting a job. So then this must be somebody else's child. Only that we know that this is our child. So the disconnection there causes an interpersonal dissonance in terms of saying, is this my child? Is this not my child? So that conflict is too much for the brain. So it will create a reality of, okay, maybe this is what we need to do. This is how we need to get ourselves out. And the paradox of what she was saying is, so there's an understanding of this is my child, because she says, if I die, who takes care of my child? So it's at one time, it's like an up and down. And
at one point you realize that, at some point it's like no, and then the other side, it really is. It really is. It really is a lot. But let's take a break, and of course when we come back, then we'd want to understand. And especially when it comes to support, because you see, someone would look from the outside thinking, but you're supposed to be excited about your child. This is your first child, right? But you're not. If anything, you're completely detached from this child, and how that can fuel more, because then you feel less than, you feel unworthy, you feel you're not, you know, enough of a mother to take care of this child. So how much of support is important, especially during this period, and what is it that people really need to know so that you're able to offer that support. Like you said, the second time was a bit easier because people really understood what was happening and gave you the help that you need. But again, if you have any other question as far as postpartum psychosis is concerned, our lines are open. That is, the numbers are down on your screen, all right? So give us a call, or better yet, at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us. And of course, let's have a better understanding as far as postpartum psychosis is concerned by the end of the show. See you soon.
My skin is my identity, my strength. It's unique and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins. 48-hour nourishment. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care for your shade of beautiful.
Around 2 weeks ago, a man expressed interest to rent this place for me for a month for about 3,000 hryvnias. He gave me the money, and that was the last that I saw of him.
Wait a minute.
Unfortunately, lady, I think you were swindled. I'm really sorry.
I don't ever want to be married to a liar, not to mention a criminal. You just ruined my life. I could have been happily married to a decent guy by now. Anna was just driving that day, but she didn't mean to.
Please don't talk to me about that day.
Did something happen at the party? Did you fight?
Good morning, rise and shine. Thank you for being with us dark and early on the Morning Fix. My name is David Ayuke.
And I'm Mariam Bishar. This is where good music lives, and guaranteed your weekday mornings are never going to be the same again.
Yes!
Wake up to the sound of David and Mariam on Nation FM.
Every single day, every single day.
They're your morning hosts with the most, bringing you the energy you need to start your day. Nation FM, where good music lives.
Let me see y'all.
Dance.
In your paper this week, another test for common market. Latest spat between Kenya and Uganda over milk exports threatens cross-border trade. Kinshasa, Kampala close in on free movement deal. Regional force gets new commander to pacify DR Congo. It's the same old challenges as battered AU gears for birthday bash, plus our opinion leaders. When East Africa Community Political Federation happens, it will be through an East African Military Union. Charles Onyango Obo. Kariako traders spoke. Government listened. Can we have more of this civility? LC Eyakuze Magazine. East Africa women writers were the first teachers on meaning of independence. For these and more stories, get your copy of the East African.
Alright, welcome back. The show is Your World, and of course today, postpartum psychosis. Quite a heavy conversation if you ask me, but again, it's necessary at the same time so that we all know the kind of support that one needs at that moment. Because like we said, sometimes it might be difficult for people to understand what, either first-time mom or just a mom is going through, and especially after childbirth. And one of the things that they could be experiencing is postpartum psychosis. So then how do you, help a mom in this situation? What kind of support is required? Nyambura Gadhumbi, who's a psychotherapist, as well as Chebet career multimedia journalist, a communication specialist, as well as a mental health advocate, are here to give us all the tidbits, right, as far as postpartum psychosis is concerned. So, but very quickly, to that aspect of first pregnancy, you felt like the devil. Second pregnancy, you felt like Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So what exactly does this statement mean?
I think to me, I'd say it's a matter of spirituality for me, because the first time I was not really born again. The second time I was born again, and I had a very good relationship with God.
I see that. Yeah.
So yeah, when the first time I was not talking, actually all these things that I'm telling you were going on in my head.
Yeah.
And I was not telling anyone.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah. After 2 years is when now I started talking about it, but nobody knew what was going on in my head the first time I experienced this, the first and second psychotic breaks.
Yeah.
But now the second time I was it manic?
Yeah.
So I was talking a lot, and I was singing a lot of gospel hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And this time I would say the second time was really better than the first time, because I was taking a shower, I was taking care of my baby, I was breastfeeding, I was not refusing medication. The first time I refused to take the medication, because I didn't know what, I didn't think I was sick. So I refused to take the medication, thinking they want to kill me. See, the irony is I want to die, but I don't want.
It's the OCD.
I want to die, but I don't want to die. I didn't want to sleep because I felt I would die if I sleep. So I didn't sleep until I was sedated. So yeah. But the second time it was easier, because first of all I would express how I was feeling. And so it was easy for my family to treat me, and I was elated to so it was, I think the positive emotions are better than the negative.
Ones.
Yeah, that's why it was easier to treat me the second time.
Because you said you felt like you've got the world, like whatever, bring all your issues. I can handle. I can handle all your issues. I can take,
you felt like Jesus,
right? Like you felt like a super. You would handle everything and everybody's problems. And the first time, like you said, you did not want. You did not want, but you were not able to care for your baby. So, like, could you point out maybe like a few instances where completely, you were sort of like
I
detached?
couldn't change her diapers. I wasn't bathing her. Just the basics of taking care of a baby. I wasn't able to. But the second time I was doing everything. In fact, I was refusing help.
Okay, because you got this, right? Like, it's easier
I think
for you.
It was also my mind's, I think Nyambura can explain that. I think my mind told me this time you can't go back to where you were last time.
100%.
So it's like you're trying to like make up for
overcompensation.
Okay, so can we just explain then the manic phase? Because like we said, when psychosis, there's like delusion, there's hallucinations, and all this negative, thoughts and things that come to your mind. But then the manic phase. So do you go through it? Like at some point you're delusional, and then some point you're manic, and then you go back, or what exactly happens during the psychotic phase?
Right. Remember that moms who develop psychosis have a high probability of bipolar.
Okay.
And so we have bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Okay. So bipolar 1 is characterized by a manic stage. A manic state. And the manic state is where you go for nights without sleeping, you can dance, you can sing, some dangerous behaviors. That is what is visible when at one point mom might be going through delusion of there are people coming to kill me, the baby is not mine, baby has been sent, baby is a robot, baby was exchanged. That's delusion.
Okay.
And then there's hallucination of hearing. Somebody's coming to take baby, go and check. And then when you get there, you're like, but that's not my baby. So you find that sometimes it's interlinked between delusion and hallucination. And because the mind is not linear, the mind is a neuroplasticity, we say, of a conglomerate of many things. Yeah. It can even come from delusion to maniac, where she's like, okay, now that I feel like I want to go and take baby to throw baby so that I protect myself. You find her now, as she was saying, overcompensating, singing, doing things that are completely out of quote unquote the norm, not being able to sleep, constantly breastfeeding the baby. Yeah, that's manic, and it can go from manic to delusion. In some cases, we've seen something called catatonia, and catatonia is a constant state of one thing. So maybe I'm not able to sleep, so I stay stiff for like 24 hours. Mania happens. Catatonia is a symptom of mania. There is some extreme cases where it's called grimace. So like, again, it's catatonia, so it's one behavior constant for an extended duration of time. And so grimace is where mom shows a specific face constantly. And it can, catatonia and mania can also be mimicking. So you talk to mom, she talks back to you the same way, what you're saying. That's why it's a psychotic break. Yeah. It's not reality. It's not reality at all. Yeah. Reality world, and that's why it needs hospitalization. Because mom can't will it away. Yeah, it's all these things happening in her body. She's ill for that particular time. The same way someone has maybe diabetes, malaria, or hypertension, malaria. Can they sit still and say, I am not going to go to the hospital? No, you can't. You have to go to hospital. You have to go to a hospital. It's that there's no difference between that physiological disease and this psychiatric mental disease.
I hear that. So, Chebet, was it because the first time, again, you didn't understand what was going on? I'm pretty sure the people around you also did not understand what was, what was going on. So do you feel like any form of judgment, stigma, people trying to say, I mean, you are supposed to be happy, like we said earlier on, that you have a child, but then again, here you are completely detached, don't want to do anything about, the baby. If anything, you think this baby is not even yours, right? How was the reaction, from people who did not really understand what was going on?
I'd say, even if they were judgmental, they didn't show me. So that's why I think I was able to get the help I needed. And that's why they're the same people who took me to hospital. So probably they had those questions in their minds. But like I said, I really have a supportive family. So I didn't really feel it directly. Even though somehow later on I felt like the stigma, I felt, being a rare condition, you would of course tend to imagine that people were wondering what the hell is happening with this person. But they didn't show it to me. They're good people.
And that's a good thing to get that kind of support, even if they don't understand what is going on. But we're here for you if you need anything. All right. So the first time you did not want to take your medication because you felt these people are trying to kill you, and you're here trying to protect your baby, but at the same time you want to, So take us through like the second time, because like you said, it was easier to be picked because now you understood this is what was happening. Were you scared, first of all, that the experience that you had during the first pregnancy is what, not pregnancy, but after childbirth, is what you would experience again?
Yes, I was. And I think that's why I was anticipating it, and that's that's why I reacted the way I reacted. Because I didn't want to feel the same way I felt the first time. Now, even though I could not control it getting back, like Nyambura said, my mind overcompensated for the first time. So the first time I refused medication because I refused the oral, so they had to do IV. And I'm used to the clear fluids, and the antipsychotics were yellowish. So I felt like now this is death. They want to inject me with the death. And I remember removing the what's it called, the syringe, the syringe and the whatever while I was admitted. But that's in the past now. So the second time, I was with my husband, so it was really easy because this is someone I trust. And yeah, he would tell me, take these tablets, and I would take them.
Yeah.
Telling him, you know, I trust you, so if you're going to kill me, it's fine.
It's on you.
It's okay, it's on you.
Okay.
So I would take the medication, and I was okay. It worked very fast.
Yeah.
First because I wanted to be okay, and second because it was arrested very fast. Yeah.
Okay. And during, so going through both experiences, and especially after you got better, like, do you have moments where you looked back and just felt bad because, and especially for your first child, because you were not there, I would say, for her during this earliest, you know, days of her life? Like, did you go through those moments of like guilt and maybe shame?
Yes, especially the 2 years in 2018 and 2019 when I was still trying to understand what that was that I was going through. Yeah, I had bouts of guilt for neglecting my baby. But like I said, spirituality is very important. So when I got born again, and the guilt just, I was guilt-free. Yeah, knowing that this is something that already happened and there's nothing I can change. What I can do now is to be there for my children and be the best mother that I can be to them. So that, and having been, I can't say I regret anything now because I'm fully there for them right now, and I'm available, and I think I'm doing my best.
You're doing a good job. You really are doing a good job, and even just coming here to really just share that experience, because there's so many people who are going through the same, and number one, don't know what is happening, that this is an illness. It's not like you wish not to take care of your baby, and also just have, you know, that level of awareness. I think you're doing a good job. You're doing a good thing.
That's the very reason why I share my story, because I can imagine how I was feeling for the 2 years, and then having to read about it and also seeing similar cases. And we see stories of mothers killing their babies. There's a recent Kitengela
woman. Kitengela lady,
And I really want people to understand this condition so that they don't judge the mothers, but help. See, when we help, we save lives instead of judging. I think that's why I share my story.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm a mental health advocate.
Absolutely.
And it
like
can happen to anyone, really.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and said if you have like pre-existing mental, you know, bipolar to be specific, you might be at risk of this thing. We talked about genetics. Do they play a role?
Actually, do want to ask her question, but if she's volunteering information, she can go ahead.
Please do.
The genetic aspect, I think it plays a role, because for me, my maternal grandmother had issues with her mental health while she was in her childbearing years.
Okay,
so
I see.
Yeah, and I got to learn this while I was in campus, where we got to do the genogram. So I actually knew from campus that I am predisposed. It's just that I didn't know it would be me. You know, we have many cousins.
And you honestly just wish that it passes you. It's like, this is not yours. No, I see that. I see that. All right. So then when it comes to treatment, right? Because like you said, there are ways that you diagnose, right? If it's like between week 1 and 4, week 4, you know, and above, that could be, right? Psychosis. So then what sort of like treatment are available? No, we talked about oral medication, IV, but what sort of treatment are available?
So let's start from the start. If it's maternity blues, it's mainly social support.
Okay.
Because maternity blues is day 1 to day 5. So if she's a new mom and you're around her, help her, offer information, give her availability to sleep, give her the space to cry.
I mean, yes.
Give her the space to vent that, yes, I love my baby, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. Like, this is too much. I didn't anticipate what is happening. So that's maternity blues.
Okay.
Postpartum depression, from week 1 to week 4, it will depend.
Okay.
It's a joint psychiatric and psychotherapy. So psychiatric is an individual who's done medical doctor, and then they specialize in diseases of the mind. So the psychiatrist will be able to see, based on the scale of the inventory and also based on the hormonal level, do they need antidepressants? I cannot prescribe medication because I'm not a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist will prescribe medication. So, but I and the psychiatrist, we work together, I through talk therapy and psychiatrist through medication to help the client overcome the depressive mood. If it's psychosis, that's a completely 100% psychiatric case. Because they're not in their right mind, so talk therapy might not be able to help. So, and in terms of medication, that, because I have no authority to talk over, I would rather not talk about which kind of medications are needed. But from information, we know that the medication given is to help block some of the hormones so that they stop the reaction of the mom from developing full-blown psychosis. Again, that's a completely psychiatric case, and mom has to be hospitalized on that account.
I see that. So Chebet, how long did it take, like, for you to get better? I'm trying to imagine for the first time, because you are refusing medication, because these people have had their own agenda in your head. Would you say
I think that's why I had 2 psychotic breaks for the first time, because I was on meds and then I stopped. I was given antipsychotics to take for a year plus, but I didn't go past 2 months. See, the side effects I felt were too much for me. I was gaining a lot of weight, and here I was trying to break through in my career as a journalist, as a TV presenter.
I see that.
So I was like, nah, too much weight gain, too much unproductivity. I would go to work and sleep the whole day.
Just flatline.
It was. It makes you a zombie. But now it reached a point, now for the second time, after my second psychotic break, I had to just accept the weight gain and everything that comes with it, so that I could be better. So that's why it took longer for the first time. But for the second time, it was really, really, really easy. I even remember I came here for an interview during that period with Grace, Unscripted with Grace. So I was still on medication, and I was able to do interviews.
You felt much better quickly as compared to the first time. I see that. So for the side effects, I know so many people will be like, but see, if there's so much side effects and yet you want to be better for your child who is fully dependent on you, balance. How do you balance both?
I think it's a matter of the psychiatric explaining to the client
this is what
that there are some side effects that will happen, but they are temporary. Because if you don't take this medication, it could become a full-blown psychosis, and that is irreversible. So there's danger in that. And also, the psychiatrist also needs to explain, and I guess they do, I don't know if they do or not, I'm just hoping they do. The psychiatrist needs to explain to the client is that it's for the better of your mental health and of baby. So that even as you gain weight, even as you feel flatline or sleepy, or even as there's reduced productivity at work, this is only for a certain duration of time. And then the psychiatrist can also be we call them influencers, where they can write a letter for the client that the client can bring to work. They don't have to disclose everything. They can just say that this person is going through medication that will require them less tedious work or less machinery work or less this for this particular duration of time.
I see that.
And then they can also work with the OBGYN. In fact, I'm just hoping that somehow OBGYNs can, and I guess they do this, but if there is information, because you see the OBGYN is the one who takes care of mom from the time she's like 0 to 9 months.
And even after.
And even after. If there is information on your mental health, please take care of your mental health. This is what could happen, and maybe even just doing a background check on how did your mom deal with mental health during her birth time. Do you know anything about your grandmother? It can really help the client come into awareness, so that when it strikes, as she's saying, they have resources on where to turn to, and the family has already been informed. So it's not like, what's wrong with you? How can you act like this, like a mother?
Stigmatizing this person more. I see that. Does it affect a baby? Because a mom might be scared, be like, okay, so if I'm going through this, will this also affect my baby? Especially like the mental health. I know they're pretty young at that time.
Yeah.
They might not remember all those things. But yeah, does it like in one way, directly or indirectly affect
the medication?
Baby? Medication, the psychotic phase? It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay.
Unless untreated.
Okay.
Because if mom is in a psychotic break, God forbid, she drops baby, it's not her will.
Yeah.
And baby gets an injury that could be permanent. That affects baby because she hasn't sought treatment. Yeah. But on the medication, from what I know, no, it doesn't affect.
It does not affect the baby in any way.
It's breastfeeding friendly.
Okay.
From what I have heard.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Such a bad.
I wanted to emphasize. On that point where psychiatrists and even doctors who are not just for any illness, how important it is to explain to your patient what you're giving them as medication. Because for me, that was the main reason I refused medication the first time. Nobody was telling me what is this. I was just being given meds and being admitted, but nobody was telling me. Well, I understand from my family, they also didn't understand, but when I got to hospital, I think it would have been better
like
if the medics explained to me like what I was going through. Yeah. Even though sometimes patients who are suffering from mental illnesses do not, we say they lack insight. But you know, when you just talk to them and later on it will click. You just tell them what they are going through. Because how do I remember everything that I went through if it was not for me to, like after recovering and for me reading about it, you know. So with information comes the acceptance of what you're going through. So I think it's very important for medics, psychologists and psychiatrists to explain to their patients what they are going through and what medication they are giving them and the side effects.
And yes, exactly, expected reactions from the same. I like that. And I also like the fact that you mentioned you know, that collective you know, responsibility from the psychiatrists, psychologists, OBGYN as well, so that you know you really know what's happening. Okay, we need to literally end the show right now. But I'm gonna ask Chebet, how are you now? How are the babies? Are you planning to have another
$1 million
well,
question?
Right? I'm very okay now.
I like that.
I will not stop saying I have a very supportive husband and my mother as well.
That's good.
So it's really easy. Whenever I feel something ish, they know even before me telling them. You know, I can speak to my mom and she's like, Chebet.
You're not okay.
So but so far I'm okay since 2020. No major problems, and the babies are okay. They're happy. And yeah, we are a happy family, I'd say.
That.
About another baby.
God's
plan.
God's plan. I like that.
If God allows, then
let
why
it happen. But you see, it's a good thing because now you have the information and you know, and that's a really good thing. Max says we need to literally like get out of here, but Max, that is 30 more seconds, so 15 more seconds to someone who's watching you this morning and thinking, hey, what would you say to the moms and to everybody who's watching, and then we'll come to Nyambura.
Okay. What I'd say is, I know there are a lot of people who are going through something on their own, thinking they're alone. I'd like to tell you that you're not alone. First, when you feel something is off, I know you have that one person, at least one person, whom you can call, you can talk to. Just tell them, I'm feeling off and I need help. It's important to speak out. And also I'd say it's very important to surround yourself with people who care about you. Be intentional about the people you surround yourself with, so that when you start feeling mentally ill or something of that sort, they will not judge you, but they'll help you to seek help, the help that you need. Yes, and if you're going through anything, you're a mother, you've just given birth, and you're feeling like, you know, you don't like your baby so much, you're not alone. It's going to pass. It's a season. And yeah, motherhood is amazing. It's amazing despite the challenges
that come.
It's all worth it. So hang in there and you're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay.
Yes.
I like that. Nyambura, someone who maybe has gone through the same and they're scared that this will come back.
Yeah.
You know, maybe when they have another baby and all those things, what would you say very quickly? And also talk on support.
Okay. So please reach out, and it doesn't have to be like somebody outside your circle. Talk to someone who you trust. Tell them this is what I'm going through, and the person whom you talk to can help you reach out to a professional therapist. If it's a psychiatric case, I guess even our public hospitals offer that. So really, help is within reach. Okay. And the other question you had said
support and how important you know this is.
So families, Manze, we just need to love. Let's love. Let's show empathy. Let's show care. Let's show kindness. All these are things that truly heal the soul. If you don't know about something, then you're not in the authority to judge and to label.
I like that.
In terms of support, reach out to professional therapists. Reach out to your social support group, who you know will understand what you're feeling,
what you're going through.
And like just my parting shots, guys. Love and empathy, compassion and kindness. These are things that heal the soul, and they are free.
And they're absolutely free. I mean, look at that. Absolutely free. So let's practice that. Nyambura, thank you. So it was such a good way to end the show. Nyambura Gadhubi, psychotherapist, as well as Chebet Birir, who's a multimedia journalist, communication specialist, as well as a mental health advocate. Ladies, this has been very insightful. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming by today. All right. Thank you. And of course, thank you for staying with us as well until the end of the show. I know you know better now as far as postpartum psychosis is concerned, but if you still have more questions, again, our social media handles at ETV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter. Tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie. And of course, let's keep the conversation going as well as on our YouTube page. But for now, again, practice empathy, be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Goodbye for now.